Welcome to episode number 2 of my new series, Dildos and Dislocations, where I bring you all the information you could possibly ever want to know about disability and sexuality, and a lot that you probably do not know. In case you're new here, I'm Rye, and again, welcome to my studio apartment. Today's episode, we have some sponsors, aka not sponsors at all, but people were asking what I was drinking last time, and we're gonna do a little shout out here. So the new picture on the wall is this awesome print from Black Liquor Studios. Let's be honest. And today we are drinking Sierra Nevada's Hazy Little Thing IPA. Yes, I had to write all this down because my brain shuts off the second this camera turns on. So welcome. Today, we are going to be answering the age-old question, the question, what is sex? Now, I know that you're all thinking, Ryan, I swear to God, if you're gonna walk us through the birds and the bees, I'm hitting next. Like, this is ridiculous. Stay with me, bear with me, I promise. We're gonna come back around eventually. You're gonna wanna stay tuned. So, I have my notes. I have definitions. So the definition of sexual intercourse, I learned something today, y'all. The definition from Merriam-Webster actually has 2 definitions. So the first definition of sexual intercourse is heterosexual intercourse involving penetration of the vagina by the penis. I appreciate the heterosexual mention thrown in there. Okay, all right. Definition number 2. Intercourse, i.e. oral or anal or other, that does not involve penetration of the vagina by the penis. Okay, that I can roll with. That's a lot. That's like a whole lot of things that could be encompassed in there, right? That is what we're here to explore. So if you were on my page earlier this week, you saw that I put out an all call for y'all's definitions. I wanted to hear, what did you guys define as sex? And I was pleasantly surprised. I also know that I have a really awesome following of all kinds of different people, but I expected a lot more like penetration, penis, vagina. I can't even do it. That's how gay I am. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I actually didn't get very many of those. There were a few of you who were like, you know, I used to define it like that, but then I found out that I wasn't exactly straight. Are any of us really just straight anymore? Are you guys out there? Are you just men who think you're straight? Is that what's left? Bueller? Just kidding. No. So I was pleasantly surprised, because the point of today's episode is that sex as a definition. So say I was straight as an arrow. Laugh it up. Fuck all y'all. Say I was. So I'm going about my life. I'm, sexually active. I think that my definition of sex is penis and vagina, and that is it. And then I have a stroke, or a spinal cord injury, or I start taking medications where that deadens nerves in my genitalia. Suddenly, I no longer have a working penis or vagina, whatever I got down there. What then? What then becomes of my definition of sex? So many disabled bodies are incapable, either from birth or from injury or from disease or from disorder, whatever it may be, of having, that first definition, heterosexual intercourse of a penis plus a vagina. I'm focusing just on that definition right now. Trust me, as a woman dating another woman, I realize that's not the only way to have sex. But yeah, so if that's your definition of sex, and then suddenly something changes with your health, or you're taking a medication, whatever, and that's no longer sex, would it be so far out of the realm of understanding for you to think of yourself as broken, as less of a person, as somehow incomplete, no longer whole, especially if sex was a really large part of your life, or you had really high sex drive, something around those lines. I have encountered partners of all abilities who've thought just that, who have, you're talking, you're getting to know each other, and you're a little flirty, and the topic of sex comes up, right? And say that partner has a disability of spinal cord injury and can no longer ejaculate, can no longer have an erection on will, without medication. So that conversation comes up as, hey, just so that, I can't do that. I can't have sex. I can't have sex. I'm sorry. Everyone can have sex. I think it's fascinating because so many people who do fall into that very first definition of that heteronormative idea of sex. I can't speak. Hold on, this will help definitely. Also, I wish I looked up what lipstick this is. Nothing. I love it. Anyway, I have to wear all my lipsticks on camera because I can't wear them in the real world because mask. Yeah, so people with this heteronormative idea of sex, just, it blows my mind how often that if that's disrupted, that, oh, I can't have sex anymore. That's the only way to do it. Even, I always laugh because I've been fluid as fluid can be for as long as I can remember. I came out, I don't know, freshman year of high school, I think we figured out. This is the first time I started realizing I was attracted to humans. And, you're in college. All my friends were dudes. And we'd get around to that body count question. And so they'd be like, oh, my body count is this. This is how many people I've had sex with, if you're unfamiliar with the term body count. And so I'd have to say, okay, well, it depends on what you count as sex. Are we just talking penetration? Are we talking, what about two women? Is that no longer sex? What if you can't hold an erection? Is that no longer sex? What if, for the longest time, I was on medications that caused complete deadening of the nerves of my vulva and inner vagina, and, orgasm was like not a thing. Is it only sex if you have an orgasm? The answer is no, absolutely not. Yes, a big part of the definition of sex is subjective to that person. But it blows my mind how many people think that they are broken or somehow incomplete because they cannot have that first definition. So let's move on to the second. What else is there? What if we took genitals out of the picture completely? I've been with people who, that just either wasn't an option because of, say we have some gender issues going on and, our brain doesn't match up with what we've got going down below the belt. So maybe that's something that we don't want touched, we don't want messed with. So what else is there? The answer is so much. That's the fun part. Exploring, finding out each other's bodies, finding out erogenous zones, especially I've, in just my own experience and experiences of friends, people with lost sensation, say from a spinal cord injury, paralysis, stroke, something like that, where there's actual, there's a line of sensation. Right around that line of sensation can be a really, really pleasurable spot. Sometimes too much, but a lot of times there are other places on the body that, because we're not so stuck on this is the only part of my body that is involved in sex. That's so not true. Hands and lips and touches and sounds and sensations of all kinds. We just have to open our minds a little bit. And for those of us who have never had to, you may not have. If you have not, and you're a man with a woman, let me implore you to do so. Broaden your idea of sex for the sake of your lover. But yeah, that's the fun, right? Exploring and finding out, like, seeing there are people who can reach orgasm, or at least reach a state of extreme pleasure and joy and elation from, you know, just touching nipples, kissing, biting necks, collarbones. Oh my God, that's mine, just in case you were wondering. Inner wrists, behind the knees, feet. I implore you to open your mind and jump out of this box that society and the media has put us in, that defines sex as this one solid thing. And if you cannot do these things, if you do not have the equipment or the ability to perform this heteronormative definition of sex, then you are not a sexual being. That is not true. You are not broken. You simply have this amazing opportunity to think outside the box and discover what pleasure really means for you. If y'all are saying you've never experienced pleasure from food or a good wine, company of friends or strangers, pleasure is so much more than just genitals. So now that you've heard my spiel, I'm interested. Has your definition of sex changed? Will you be thinking outside the box more? Maybe trying things, implementing new sensations, temperature changes, different toys, vibrations. Hell, get creative. Some of the best sex is when you are giggling like an idiot and just trying to explore each other's bodies, fumbling, have no idea which way's up. It can be such a great time. It does not have to be this very serious, very, your phallic object must enter my cavern and this is how sex is achieved. No, fuck that. I am here for pleasure. We're here for we're here for a very, very, very minute amount of time. So why would you restrict your ability to feel pleasure to just this one thing? If you're telling me that you haven't had a bad day, or those of you who've experienced depression, illness, you know, there are days when this does not line up with this. That is no different from someone with a disability, someone on medication, or any of the other things that I've listed during this episode. No different at all. There are days when that just ain't working. Does that mean that you can't experience pleasure on those days? Or, you know, maybe that's a day where we are totally focused on the other part of this sexual situation, or parts, multiple parts. I'm not judging. We are all inclusive on D&D, all right? Also, yes, D&D is a thing, guys, because it makes me laugh every time. But yeah, I want to know if your definition of sex has changed, or if you'll take from this, you know, you don't have to have this restricted from a disability. Taking away some of your senses, blindfolds, restraints, earplugs, the list goes on and on and on. And no, things don't have to get all like 50 Shades of Grey. Don't get me started. That's a whole nother episode up in here. I mean, this can be as simple as just putting, you know, a blindfold over your partner and kissing them and finding out what brings them pleasure. You might be surprised. Hell, you might be surprised what brings you pleasure. We don't belong in a box. The world is a big, bright, colorful, messy place. And so is sex. This is Rye, signing off, y'all.